Hello, Shivam.
Hi, sir.
Yeah. Congratulations, beta, for having cleared the civil services exam with flying colors, and I'm extremely happy for you. So, heartiest congratulations, beta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And obviously, the role of IAS GURUKUL has been very instrumental, specifically in sociology and during the interview guidance, something that I'll be talking more about in the later time. Yeah.
So, Shivam, tell us, you've cleared this exam in one attempt,
Yes, sir.
right? And a very young age, you took about 9 months to say 1 year before the prelims.
Yes, sir.
That's the time you had for preparation.
Yes, sir.
So, how did you really, efficiently use your time during this 1 year?
Sir, I first of all looked into the strategies of people
Yes.
of my seniors and other toppers who had cleared the exam in a similar timeline, and let's say in the first attempt itself. Based on their interviews and discussions, I divided my time into blocks of 3 months, and I allocated certain tasks and responsibilities to each of these blocks. So, for example, from October 2020 to December 2020, that's when I started. I fixed the block for sociology and for the basic books like NCRT and Spectrum and Lakshmikant. So my day was divided into 2 halves. One half would be for GS, the other half would be specifically for sociology. And moving forward from January to March, I focused on, again, sociology first half, as well as GS part of mains, for example, ethics, international relations, and other aspects which were not in prelims, so to say. Moving forward in the next 3 months, I had planned to do for prelims specifically, but when the things changed, I again extended it to cover more of ethics and GS, and started answer writing as well during this particular time.
Shubham, beta, what was your Shivam, what was your daily routine during this whole year? And in a typical day, how many hours would you put in? Just if you could share that.
Yeah. So when I started my preparation, given that I had come from a corporate culture where I was used to putting in more hours, I realized that I had sort of become habitual to do that. So initially from October to February, I was almost putting in 12 to 14 hours a day, which also helped me with achieving the ambitious target that I had set for myself. So I finished my sociology syllabus in one go till February. I was able to go through the basic books, and I had also started answer writing from January 2020. So day-wise, how it happened was that I used to wake up at around 7 and 8. I used to do some morning workout and meditation. And then I started reading the newspaper, tried to sort of finish it up in 45 minutes or so. After that, I decided blocks of 3 hours, wherein I would, let's say, try to finish a particular subject. So I'll start, let's say, with a particular book of GS, let's say Spectrum. Then I'll have my lunch, etc. Then I'll go for sociology lecture, your sociology lectures. After that, I'll take another block of, let's say, 3 hours for another subject. I'll also go for an evening walk just to refresh myself. In the later half of the day, I try to add in more material from sociology from other books as was prescribed by you. And then simultaneously, I tried to convert these notes to an online material, because I felt that having an online note would be helpful. So when I was obviously going through your lectures, I was making handwritten notes, and on a daily basis, or at least on a weekly basis, I was trying to cover up each of that into my shorter notes, which would be helpful for revision specifically during examination.
Particularly, one thing that you mentioned, that you would take out time for meditation and evening walks. Didn't the thought cross your mind that it's a criminal waste of your time? Because, I want you to speak on this, because a lot of people have those kind of guilt pangs, and I try to tell students that this is something one needs to take out time for, and it is time well spent.
So specifically for meditation, I had never done it before in my life, but obviously talking to a couple of my seniors who were already in the services, they told me that how it actually helps productivity, and therefore I started it. And I realized that given when you're giving such an exam, being anxious, nervous, etc. is part of your routine. And I realized that this meditation, for example, one of my friends introduced me to one of the Buddhist chants, Namyo Renge Kyo. And I used to do that. And apart from meditation, it's also said that it helps you achieve what you set out for. And I used to write my prayers also later along the way. So that was something that I think it was helping me in the process, and that's why I continued it. At the same time, for walking, I was somebody who was used to running. But I realized that once you run, it could affect my productivity because it used to happen. So then I took up to walking. In walking, I used to introspect things which I wouldn't during the thing. So it gave me an out, even though for a while. And then I would come back with greater vigor to finally continue for the rest of the day. There were times when I also watched movies. That's one of my hobbies that I mentioned in the interview also. And sometimes I'd watch these movies, one or two movies, and that was something that would help me get back on the next day with greater vigor. So I think it's always helpful because it's always necessary that you reset the clock.
Yes.
Because unless you do that, you will burn out.
Absolutely.
And you require patience and sustenance. And this preparation, according to me, is about sustainability.
Yes.
And therefore, it could be anything. It could be meditation, or it could be playing cricket, as a lot of people do, playing any other game, or even watching video games. The important part is that you come back
Correct.
to your preparation, and for me that helps. So
Shivam beta, please tell us, coming from an engineering background, right? So Shivam has done his engineering from IIT Delhi, civil engineering. Electrical engineering, yeah. You enrolled in civil and then you switched. So electrical. So coming from an engineering background, how did you end up choosing sociology as your optional? Huh? What was the decision-making process?
Initially, actually, when I was in college, I did a couple of electives in sociology.
Yes.
But when I was choosing the optional, and this is around September 2020, I started my preparation in October, I had almost decided on anthropology because a lot of engineers were going towards that. And
Yes.
As suggested by one of my seniors, I read the book Homo Sapiens. I found it interesting and I thought this is the way to go. But when there's a book called Ember in Ember, and when I read that, I realized that while it's an interesting subject, I wouldn't be able to study throughout this preparation or even the prolonged preparation that UPSC exam is about. So that's when I realized that I have always liked sociology, because when I studied in college, and I again switched gears, I went through the syllabus, saw the notes, the resources, I saw the guidance available at IAS GURUKUL, the results that were provided, and that's when I realized that okay, I think I should go for sociology. I had previous experience, I knew I could write answers given I had already done that in college, although not to the level of UPSC, but I still knew that I can carry this forward. Apart from that, the usefulness of this subject, specifically in, let's say, in general studies, etc., was something that was also very apparent. So I didn't have to study society specifically for GS1. And as you can also see, the essays, etc., were also broadly related,
Yes.
if not to sociology, but at least with society. So I think that is something that also helped in retrospect. So yes.
Shivam, also tell me, how did you zero down on limited resources? Again, coming back to the fact that you've done it in less than a year or so before prelims. So how did you zero down on few resources? And because, people always have that fear of missing out that we were talking about earlier, and, stick to them.
So there's this unique story about my work culture at a place that I was working, LEK. And whenever we used to start a new project, we would always shoot out a mail for any past work that has been done. And one of my seniors told me that there is a vast corpus of material or notes by previous toppers. So why do you have to start from scratch?
Yes.
So from initial days itself, my strategy was to zero down on specific notes or specific toppers, or with regards to specific topics. So I took my seniors' help. There were a couple of seniors from my own college, and their digital notes specifically, because I found them easy to be edited according to the current news or current context. So, and I stuck to them. I realized that obviously there is a vast corpus of material, as you said. I realized that if the particular material does justice to the syllabus topic. So I had the syllabus stuck in my room on the walls, and I used to study syllabus line by line. So if I see that the note has completed that, I used to just zero down to that and add that to my own online notes that I had prepared. and I kept to that. Obviously, there were some times when the notes were insufficient. That's when I understood that this is what I need. So I wouldn't go to, again, read the entire topic or look for the entire topic. I knew that there's this particular area that needs to be filled in, and then I'd use Google, wherein you type a topic and add UPSC to it, and you'll have, again, the couple of links in the initial this thing. So I use that specifically. In ethics also, specifically toppers notes, as well as my seniors notes helped. And then I changed those notes to my own this thing, because I had to personalize the ethics answers. So that is what I did to finally zero down on the books. The basic books is something that everybody knows about, and given that I was preparing from home, so I tried to isolate myself from the various coaching materials, at least, that come out in if I were in Delhi. So that was something that was also helpful.
Okay. Shivam, tell us anything you would do differently if you were to take this exam again, God forbid. But so you shouldn't require to, but if you were one of those candidates who would have to learn from their own mistakes, what you would have done differently?
Sir, I think I would try to focus more on my essay and my ethics part. This was something that was apparent to me even after my mains. Because after my mains examination, I realized that I had done sufficiently well in GS, but if given the limited time that we had this time, and it was my first attempt, I realized that if I had to do it, I would work more on essay and ethics, which seemed to me like a game changer. At the same time, I would work more on sociology, because there's a scope for improvement there. And I realized that if I've reached here at 243 in my first attempt, I think I can definitely take it further ahead and improve my rank.
Shivam, tell me or share with the students some key tips for success in this examination.
The first thing is to strategize. So, for example, I strategized that I have 3 months of blocks. And in each block, I have sufficient number of books or sufficient tasks that have to be done.
Yes.
Based on that, then I made weekly goals, and then based on that, I made daily goals. So that is something that helps you keep a track of things.
That's correct.
And that strategizing aspect is very important in this particular exam. The other aspect is practicing. So writing the tests in the mains or even in the prelims, that is something that is very useful, and that is something that needs to be done. Apart from that, as we just discussed, having limited resources is something that is very important, because you can get lost in the vast depth of the knowledge that is available. So limiting them, and I think if it helps, just write down the sources that you will always stick to, and anytime you want to go ahead of that, just see that list and motivate yourself. At the same time, the motivation aspect, you will feel down on some days, so you need to have people who motivate you. You need to isolate yourself from people who may be giving you a negative vibe. And work towards meditation or any other hobby that helps you get back into the game again. The idea is to pick yourself every time. I can't even count the number of times I have strayed away, but then again come back with the same vigor that I wanted to come back with. And last tip, I think patience. While I am grateful for the fact that I was able to get this done in my first attempt, patience is something that is very important in this examination. If you're confident, if you have that conviction, I think sooner or later you will be able to go with success. It just requires perseverance and patience.
Well said. So you were in it for the long haul, huh? Okay. Also, if you could bust some common myths about this examination, you would have come across many, I'm sure.
I think one of the myths is that about the content, that if I read n number of books, I am definitely going to succeed. I think the limited aspect, the limited content is something that is very important. Apart from that, the other myth is that let us keep on studying instead of practicing, right? People think that if I study more, but we'll put this to practice probably right in the exam. That is something that some people believe, but that needs to be busted in the sense that you need to practice, because unless you're able to use that knowledge in the examination, it's of no use. At the same time, while there are myths around take a particular optional, because that is higher marks yielding, etc., but if we see the trends, there is actually no trend in terms of which optional, because if you see rank 1 or rank 2, every year they are from different optionals, so to say. So what matters is whether you will be able to study it, whether you have a relative strength in that optional or any other part of that optional. So for me, I knew that I could write based on my past experiences, and that was something that why I went with sociology. Another thing is that people believe that their previous educational qualifications, the college that they come from, the marks that they have secured in boards, etc., is something that is going to decide how they'll do in this examination. And that is a very common myth that definitely needs to be busted, because it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is how much effort you finally put in this exam.
That's true.
Right? And even in the interview stage, they don't grill you about these things, that why did you get so less in this exam, etc., or in this particular stage. I think those are a couple of things that need to be kept in mind.
Shivam, did you, though you did have a kind of a short journey, did you experience the fears and insecurities which are typical of this examination, preparation process?
Definitely, sir. Even though it was a shorter journey for me, thankfully, there were days of anxieties. There were days where I couldn't study. There were days that I would take movie breaks, wherein I would go on a movie spree at home, of course. And at the same time, I realized that, but that was a way of coping. That was a coping mechanism that would help me then get back. And my parents, my siblings, they were of a great support. My friends, they were also there, so to control that. So I think anxiety, and given the age that we are preparing, everyone, and irrespective of the age, in fact, this anxiety and nervousness is part of the exam.
Yes.
I think it's about how you handle it, because at the end of the day, the job that you're preparing for is also full of anxiety and unprecedented events. So I see it as a way to prepare yourself for what's ahead in life when you finally join the civil services. And that's how I think you motivate yourself to be able to, if not live up, but at least to tone it down so that it does not affect your productivity.
A slight caveat there, his journey is not exactly that short, though it is like 1 year of active preparation. So Shivam was telling me that he was writing a diary way back in 7th standard, wherein he mentioned that he wants to become an IAS officer. Okay, so in some way his whole life has been kind of an exercise in preparation, and I would say all is well that ends well.
Yes.
Yeah. So congratulations once again, beta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.